We've got ones that can see. Welcome, everybody, to today's show. Only in a world where everybody is completely blind can the government get away with propaganda like this. This could be potentially some of the worst propaganda I've ever seen. And if you don't know how all of this works, of course, the news is there to not just instill fear, but it's used as a propaganda tool to condition you into things that the government wants for you. And what we've seen is the government wanting to tear down the infrastructure and replace it with artificial intelligence. And that goes across all forms of government. It goes from healthcare, it goes to the IRS, it goes to transportation. All of it is going to be run through artificial intelligence. So what they continue to do is propaganda 101. And these suckers out there continue to fall for this. Now, I am not siding with the way that the healthcare system is set up because, of course, it's corrupt. Of course, it's unfair. Of course, it's a scam. We all know that. That's what insurance really stands for. It really stands for scam. But isn't it convenient that all of a sudden that the mainstream media has now turned on insurance companies? You know, the same insurance companies that pretty much fund the news because they fund and place their commercials. And of course, the news runs through the advertising. So the majority of ads you see during the news are actually insurance companies and big pharma commercials because they're the ones who fund the propaganda, right? So how convenient that all of a sudden, even the healthcare system is deciding to nuke itself because, of course, there's bigger and better things ahead. So they need to transform what it looks like. And they can only do that by getting you to hate the way it is and to want change. And then, of course, the change that you're going to want is the change that they're going to tell you is best for you. So this is propaganda from CNN. It's 2025 and insurance just keeps getting worse. Doctor's video goes viral. And you know what this video is about? It's about Dr. Elizabeth Potter. And she's posting a video detailing an experience with a health insurer that she says she's never experienced before. She was performing surgery and was contacted by the health insurance company mid-surgery and about the claim and about the person getting the procedure and whether or not they would approve it or not. How convenient that the insurance company happens to be United Healthcare as well. Now, before I play for you the propaganda that they aired on CNN, which will give you a really good laugh, because again, remember how these people's minds work out there. They watch these things and like, oh, that's awful. Oh, that's so wrong. Getting trained into, of course, accepting what the government is trying to get you to accept and consent to in the first place. It is not going to be better. It is going to be much, much worse because AI is not going to make things better. It's going to enslave us in every aspect of our lives. Just the sheeple out there don't know that yet because they don't understand it yet. And they don't understand it because they believe propaganda like this. So everybody remembers the United Healthcare story, right? I covered it back in December. You've all heard about it. Luigi Mangione, right? How convenient that the United Healthcare guy was just walking down the street, that this shooter happened to know where he was going to be, and he had nobody around him, and he was in a bright blue suit, right? And nobody else was walking the streets, and he went up and he shot him, right? But even more convenient was how fast this news footage made it to the news, right? This actual camera footage, I should say, from a security camera. It was on the news within minutes that morning, right? Think about how many events occur where you never really get the footage. You wait for the footage, or it takes time to get the footage. Got to contact the police, got to contact so-and-so for the footage. Well, didn't take much time at all. Within hours, this was all over the national news, and everybody was gasping at it, right? Even the wife of the victim was on the news within minutes, right? That same exact day where there's video footage of her husband, the father of her children, getting shot down in the street, she decided to give an interview to NBC and CNN. She says, I don't know details. I just know that he said there were some people that had been threatening him, right? So immediately planting the seeds of what this story is about, right? Before we got the actual details. And then, of course, conveniently, the details came out. That Luigi Mangione had a handwritten manifesto when they found him sitting at a restaurant or whatever location, McDonald's, that he was sitting at. He was just sitting there with a handwritten manifesto to tell everybody out there why he did it, right? And then what did we see? We saw the media out there portray him as a hero. And even up to this point, Luigi Mangione has reached and raised over $500,000. A killer in the streets, right? Supposedly, of course, but this is a psyop. And in psyops, most of the time people don't die. It's a psychological operation to manipulate you. That's what it is. That's what the news is. It's to manufacture you, manufacture human behavior. It's not that complicated, right? So they set it up no different than there would be a movie scene. They have one, actor A there, actor B there, right? Nobody else around to be an eyewitness on the scene, right? Of course, he was so smart to figure out how to go after the United Healthcare guy, but of course he revealed his face and camera footage around his hotel lobby, pulled it down to flirt with the girl, and then of course the media portrays him as a sex symbol. How convenient. So you have people drooling over him, saying he's a hero, right? It's equivalent, if the story was real, it's the equivalent of people cheering for Jeffrey Dahmer, but of course in the world today, they've actually made serial killers into idols. That's how insane things have gotten. So the whole Luigi Mangione thing, delay, deny, defend, the entire psychosis around it is to get people to turn fully on the healthcare system, which again, I don't agree with. I don't agree with the healthcare system, but I don't agree at all with what the solution is, because the solution is what the government wants the solution to be. They are the ones who want the change. That's what people need to get before people comment and they say the healthcare system sucks, it needs to be overturned. Yeah, no crap, it does. But the solution that you're getting are for the same people who have imprisoned you with the current healthcare system. They're the ones who are coming up with the solution because they know that the solution, well, it's a lot worse than the way the system was, because the solution actually has to do with getting technology underneath your skin. This is all about AI governance and the Tower of Babel being rebuilt. I'm going to play for you the propaganda in a second, but don't forget all the stuff that's out there with Elon Musk, who is now the face of tearing down the government, right? All these crazy woke people getting fired because Elon Musk is going to give us our tax money back and he's a hero for all of us, right? But quietly replacing us with AI. And all of the common people out there think, all the sheeple think, that all that means is that it's like a Google search, right? Oh, we're going to have AI in healthcare? Yeah, well, the AI is going to monitor the doctors and correct the doctors. And you'll hear propaganda like that over the next coming months, right? Grok is your AI doctor. Imagine a world where your smartphone isn't just for doom scrolling through social media or captioning questionable selfies, but where it can also play doctor. And Elon Musk says, exactly. And keep in mind, your smartphone, Elon Musk also says, will eventually be inside of your body. The World Economic Forum, 4 ways AI is improving healthcare. AI is transforming healthcare. They want AI to run every aspect of your life. It is the Tower of Babel rebuilt. It is global enslavement. This is the propaganda that they aired on CNN. If you believe things like this, you need to snap out of it because you're in a psychosis. This is how scripted news works, right? You even have the woman who gets breast cancer who's okay with her, her chest being shown on the news. Thankfully, they blur it out, but even okay with, they're not saying, hey, is this going to air on national news? I'm at my breasts out on national news. And she says, I'm more scared about health insurance and how the health insurance industry works than I am about the actual cancer. This is propaganda 101 from the doctor talking about how she was contacted in the emergency room. Nobody thinks when they hear this stuff, right? Nobody thinks. They're just like, wow, that's crazy. Is it? What's crazy about it is that people actually believe this. Look at this.
This is the surgery center where Dr. Elizabeth Potter operates on breast cancer patients. She's actually in surgery right now. She made a video in January talking about an incident she had with a health insurance company while she was operating on a patient.
It's 2025 and insurance just keeps getting worse. Never had this happen before.
In her video, which she posted to Instagram and TikTok, Dr. Potter described being in surgery when she got a message that a health insurance representative was trying to reach her about a patient who it turned out was already on the operating table.
So I scrubbed out of my case and I called United Healthcare. And I was like, do you understand that she's asleep right now? And she has breast cancer? It's out of control. Insurance is out of control.
Her video has now been viewed over 13 million times across platforms and inspired other doctors to weigh in.
This is exactly what is wrong with insurance companies dictating the kind of care that patients should have.
They put in place systems that require physicians to jump through insane hoops to get obviously appropriate care for a patient.
I didn't think that it would resonate so deeply, but once I saw the comments coming in, it just uncovered something that was already there.
Days after her post, United Healthcare demanded she remove the video from her social media channels, accusing her of making false claims.
What I said in that video was true.
What happened that day?
I got a message that United Healthcare had called the operating room and wanted to speak with me. And immediately my mind went to, oh, wow, are they going to deny something for this patient? I looked over at my partner, another microsurgeon who's there, and I said, I think if I take this call, I might make a difference for this patient.
They say United Healthcare did not ask or expect you to scrub out and call right away. Why call them back right away?
No one made me. That was my choice. I thought they might deny her. Could they stick her with a giant bill that could be financially devastating? And I have seen that. The environment that I'm practicing medicine in is when an insurance company says jump, I say how high. And that just doesn't feel good for patients.
Dr. Potter's video came weeks after United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was shot and killed. In a letter to her, the company accused her of creating a potential life and safety threat for its employees, noting some commenters on her video were invoking and seemingly praising Thompson's accused killer, Luigi Mangione.
I would never condone violence. I'm a doctor. I take care of people. But if we're going to talk about it, then what I would say is it is not my fault that United Healthcare had the reputation that it had that led people to react that way. I did not promote those comments, but Americans are speaking out.
Is this unique to United?
And this is not unique to United. There are two competing interests. Doctors wanting to take care of patients and companies and industries prioritizing financial profit. That is at the heart of insurance and healthcare.
For Potter, who specializes in breast reconstruction for women with breast cancer.
Thank you so much.
Insurance is an inescapable part of her conversations with patients.
Dr. Potter, how are you? Alrighty. You guys, this looks really, really good. And we already have a little air in there.
Yeah.
You're going to look gorgeous.
I have been far more terrified of insurance, like by a power of 100, than the cancer. So the cancer itself feels to me kind of manageable.
We go through and get approval. Is this going to be an outpatient home the same day? Are they going to stay overnight? What kind of anesthesia do we want? What materials do we need in the operating room? And insurance gets to weigh in on all of it.
How much of your job is this?
A lot. I've heard before, like, insurance shouldn't practice medicine, but they are. They are in the room, and the balance has shifted so far towards cost controlling and efficiency that it feels less like I'm able to practice the best medicine for my patients.
While her video about United got the most attention, Potter's frustration is with the insurance industry more broadly and shared by colleagues like fellow breast cancer surgeon Dr. Julie Sprunt.
We have a young patient who's in her early 30s. She was so upset that her insurance wouldn't cover the wigs that she wanted to wear while she was getting chemotherapy. And I thought of how hard she has worked as a nanny to pay into insurance. It starts to feel like the humanity that is so necessary in healthcare isn't there anymore.
I didn't go to medical school to learn how to decipher insurance plans. I went to medical school to learn how to take care of human beings. And I would assume that insurance would help facilitate that and not create obstacles. I think there's a good place for insurance, but we've got to have a reckoning. Maybe something really good could happen. We'll see.
So that's some of the worst propaganda that I've ever seen in my life. But it's actually laughable propaganda because I'm at a point now in my life where I laugh at this stuff. And if I see somebody who repeats this or believes it, then I just go into them about how in the world do you believe this stuff? And they don't know what to say. And then they're like, well, you're saying that the news is fake. Oh, that's exactly what I'm saying. What manipulates your perspective of the world? What manipulates you into hating your neighbor based on political ideologies? What manipulates you into thinking everybody's racist? What manipulates you into thinking this? The news. What else does? And the celebrities and the false idols who are socially engineering you, right? That's what does. So that story couldn't be faker. Could you just imagine being in surgery? Does anyone want to ask questions? How did somebody contact the surgeon? So somebody at a front desk got a phone call, right? While the person was performing surgery, okay, in a surgery room. And they didn't say, hey, you know what? They'll call you back later, right? They were like, hey, we got to get in there and we got to get contact with the doctor while they're performing the surgery, right? And people are like, wow, that's insane. Well, of course it's insane. It's insane that people believe it. This is all about the transformation from this current healthcare system, which is awful, but to AI healthcare. And no one understands what it is, but I'll explain it to you again for anyone out there that doesn't get it. Elon Musk is pushing and slowly doing this this way, right? He's pushing AI healthcare. They all are. All the globalists are. This is how they're slowly getting you on board, because they're not just going to say, hey, we're going to tear it down, we're going to put a chip in your body. They got to condition you into trusting it. So he has things like this all over his social media. You could upload any image to Grok. Again, Grok, his latest, that's the AI tool that they use on X. I just did a video breaking down Saturn because the logo is Saturn. How convenient, right? But any image to Grok, including medical imaging, and gets its opinion, non-doctor opinion. Grok accurately diagnosed a friend of mine from his scans. There's other things out there about how doctors misdiagnose people. People uploaded their scans to Grok, and Grok pointed it out. Then the person went back in and pointed it out, and the doctor's like, wow, I can't believe it. You actually figured out what was happening, right? And of course, Grok is your AI doctor. People just think it's a second opinion. You've been trained your whole life to think about second opinions, right? Which there's nothing wrong with getting second opinions. But this is part of the mind control that they're using now with AI as your second opinion. Because people would used to say, hey, I got diagnosed with this. I don't believe I have it. I'm going to get a second opinion. But your health insurance actually doesn't really allow you to do that, right? You're only covered by your primary or whoever they give, whoever you pick, or whoever your hand selected, right? Can't go to 10 different doctors for 10 different opinions unless you're going to pay out of pocket, which most people can't afford to do. So this is what they say about Grok as your AI doctor. Imagine a world where your smartphone isn't just for doom scrolling. Grok can now give you the lowdown like it's been to medical school. Elon says you can upload anything from a phone picture of your blood test results to an MRI or X-ray, and Grok will analyze it for you. Grok's analysis won't just tell you what is in the MRI. Those numbers look numbery. It'll deep dive. Goes on to say, now, while Grok isn't a real doctor, it's pretty adept at providing initial interpretations. It could point out if your cholesterol levels are on a joyride or if there's something unusual lurking in your MRI that might warrant a follow-up with an actual medical professional, right? And this is the transition that I'm talking about, okay? So what people don't get is they're going, okay, that sounds interesting, right? My cholesterol. Well, how have you been conditioned into monitoring your cholesterol, your steps, your calories through things like the Fitbit, right? Well, the goal here is to get this implanted in you, right? At the same time that Elon Musk is rolling out the Neuralink brain implant, which, like I said, 99% of people don't even know that he's doing this. There's so many people out there I talk to about this, and they're like, what? I don't know what that is, which is incredible to me because people like myself have been warning for a decade now about Elon Musk, the Neuralink, the mark of the beast, transhumanism, the things that he's tweeting, and he suddenly is aligned with Christians who don't even know that this guy is likely to be bringing in the mark of the beast, right? So you remember the interfaces, all these interfaces on phones and Apple phones, et cetera, that show you all this stuff that monitors your health, right? Well, Elon Musk and even his mother are talking about the Neuralink and how it's going to monitor everything inside of you. In fact, the computer-brain interface that'll be inside of you will, help you in the long run, right? It's like a Fitbit for your brain.
In a lot of ways, it's kind of like a Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires. We feel confident about getting the link procedure, the installation of a link, done in under an hour. So you can basically go in the morning and leave the hospital in the afternoon. In a lot of ways, it's kind of like a Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires.
And this Neuralink, people saying, why I don't want something in my head. I said, well, you aren't paralyzed. Or you aren't blind.
Good point.
If you're blind and you don't want to see, then you can argue the point. You don't have to have a chip in your head.
I think he's the genius of the world.
And this Neuralink, people saying, why I don't want something in my head. I said, well, you aren't paralyzed. Or you aren't blind.
Good point.
If you're blind and you don't want to see, then you can argue the point. You don't have to have a chip in your head. A chip in your head. A chip in your head.
And of course, Elon Musk's mother, the witch, I mean, you could just see, if you have discernment, what kind of a witch Elon Musk's mother is, but she reveals herself over and over and over again in all these pictures, and nobody knows why Elon Musk's mother's even famous, right? They just go along for the ride, and they're like, oh, she's famous. She's on magazine covers holding up a peekaboo sign over her eye, right? The 666 hand sign, right? Over her eye. So remember with what they're doing here, the transition with AI healthcare is it's going to start with humans still being involved. You're a doctor, right? They're not going to nuke you. They're not going to go, here's AI healthcare, all doctors are fired. Little by little, doctors are going to be replaced. It's going to start with doctors using AI and then them telling you, hey, you don't even need the doctor anymore. Why not have the AI monitor you at home? And people will give their personal data to the artificial intelligence. And it all leads to this stuff being embedded in you, right? Elon Musk creating a neural lace is the thing that really matters for humanity to achieve symbiosis with machines. If successful, X will evolve to be the collective consciousness of humanity, or more accurately, the human-machine collective. That is what they are attempting to do. And the healthcare is a huge part of it. Because how do you think people are going to end up getting this stuff inside of their bodies? They're going to get it inside of their bodies based on the premise that it's going to benefit their health and benefit them in the long run. And that's what the conditioning for the last decade has been about. All of this tech, all of this wearable tech, this Fitbit, the phone, the iWatch, all this stuff monitoring your sleep, monitoring your day-to-day. Every year, them upgrading it and saying, well, now you can monitor how many times you blow your nose in a day. And each year it upgrades, right? It's more and more things that get monitored and tracked, and these people keep going along with it. They keep allowing themselves, which is the data that the government wants, to be monitored and tracked where they think that they're doing it for their own benefit. And eventually that's what it leads to, right? Because remember, Elon Musk said that smartphones will be obsolete, that BCIs is the future. You know what a BCI is? It's a brain-computer interface. That's what the Neuralink is. It's this technology in your body. No more phone. So that means when they're telling you now, they're like, hey, you could use your phone to get the AI doctor. Well, if he's telling you in the future there's not going to be a phone, this so-called genius, this DARPA agent, right? If he's telling you in the future there won't be a phone and he's the smartest man alive, then where's that going to lead to? Where he's saying, hey, use your smartphone as your doctor, use your smartphone as this. Well, it leads to it being embedded in your body. And then the healthcare system is having your own personal doctor in your body, kind of like the pacemaker. This thing that'll be embedded in you, which I believe you will not be able to buy or sell without having, if that sounds familiar to you, also known as the mark of the beast. This thing will be monitoring inside of your body, and they're going to tell you, hey, this is so good. Something could be happening under the skin that you don't know about, but the tech will know, and it'll alert you. It'll alert a computer interface. It'll alert a doctor. It'll alert a health, some of the few humans that are still allowed out there, probably more likely answering phones, and then the robots will be performing the surgeries and operations, right, which they've already transitioned into. But people will look at it and say, that's great, it detected cancer and it saved my life. You'll hear propaganda like that. Oh, it detected I had diabetes, I didn't even know, right? It went off, it rang towards the doctor called me, I went in, and now I'm cured because we found out ahead of time, right? Does that narrative sound familiar with Trump and Larry Ellison of Oracle? And what they're talking about, being able to detect cancer before you even know you have it or even feel any of the symptoms so you could beat cancer. This is the end game. And that's why this propaganda, which is so poorly produced, is out there. The funniest thing about it, because nothing's really funny about what they're doing, but you only can laugh that people still view the news as real. Because the stories are so bad, the psyops are so bad, the crisis actors are so bad, that common sense, something should ring in someone's head where they go, this is bad. I mean, this is like Troll 2 acting, where we see some of these parents outside the schools, or we see what we just saw in that clip, right? This woman was perfectly fine with, that she wasn't like, hey, let me button up my chest here for my CNN interview, right? She has her chest open, some 60-year-old woman, and she's like, the healthcare is making me, I'm more frightened about the future of healthcare than the cancer in my body. Oh, right. Ding, 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 propaganda 101. The news is to manufacture you. It's to convince you of what the same psychotic dictators, the same thing that they want for you, they're trying to convince you into. So it feels like you're revolting against that. This is what all these these people who are calling Luigi Mangione a hero, right? They feel like they're pushing a movement. We have to push a revolution against the healthcare, the way the insurance companies are. And they're not pushing a movement. They're following what the government is creating through the psychosis. They want them to respond that way. They want them to feel like they're revolutionaries, but they're not. The government is the one giving them the resolution. The government's the one that wants to transition from the current system into the new system. Otherwise, the news wouldn't be talking about it. And things would just be the same with the healthcare system that we've had for a long time, which has always been horrible. right? Now all of a sudden, as AI is coming in and we're getting AI infrastructure in America, oh, how convenient that we have a shooter in the streets and they let everybody watch the shooting. And everybody starts talking about, wow, that's scary, that's bad. And they get sucked in because if they didn't show you the shooting, most people wouldn't be sucked into the story. They were sucked in because they saw it and they went, whoa, that's crazy. They didn't go, why are they showing us this? I thought they don't release this type of footage so fast. So they got sucked in. Where is he? We got to find him. They find him. Oh, he's got a manifesto. What's the manifesto about? Oh, it's about the corrupt healthcare system, right? And then everybody starts going, yeah, it is pretty corrupt. Yeah, and they're getting fed all of this stuff, thinking that they're independently thinking when they're not. It's a psychosis. America and the American experiment is mind control. And they're getting you to agree with enslaving yourself, with free will. The free will that God gave us, people are in such a psychosis. With their free will, they're allowing themselves to be enslaved by this satanic world order. And eventually this ends with the mark of the beast because you won't be able to buy or sell it. And this stuff that's going to be embedded in your genetic code, like a blockchain that monitors your health, your travel, what you buy, what you sell. That's what we're headed towards. The technology is ready. It's about getting you ready to accept it. Because if they came out tomorrow and they just said, oh, no more healthcare, we're going to put it in. If they came out 5 years ago, right, and they just said, we're going to get rid of the healthcare system and we're all going to get these things like pacemakers put in our bodies, everyone would say absolutely not. Right? So they got to get you to hate the system more than you've ever hated it, right? Get you on board, then transition you with how all these stories of AI saving people's lives by detecting things and working with doctors, then telling you, hey, it could cost you no money. We could just use AI. We don't even need the doctor. It's surpassed the doctor. And hey, guess what? Robots are actually performing surgery better than humans. And everyone just continues on board without realizing that's been the plan all along. It's not for the betterment of society. It's for the end of humanity as we know it. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.